Hi and welcome to another episode of Aussie Sim. Okay, so we've arrived in the USA. We're currently sitting at Los Angeles Airport in the American Airlines livery. We're going to be taking flight American Airlines 4655 from LAX to San Francisco. So here we are, just about to get ready to get all the catering and the bags onto the aircraft and board. So I'll just jump in the cockpit and we'll start getting set up. Okay, so here we are in the cockpit. I've installed the Ngx FS2 Crew reboot. So I'm going to load that up and we're going to get our flight on its way. So just firstly, just going to load up our pre-flight events. So our departure time is due out at 6:50. So we'll run this now.
Okay, let's get this show on the road.
And we should have an on-time departure. So just going to go through the departure brief settings, just to make sure everything's all right. So far,
Just setting out for the walk around.
so far these all look pretty good. So I'll close that now. Okay, so just while he's doing the walk around, I'm just going to come up here and set up some of our settings that we need to set up. Just going to open the doors so the catering can begin. The rest of the doors are all open. Just going to check here, make sure that we've got everything going. We're going to start the APU. And just going to go through the fuel configuration and the payload configuration. I've set these up. I haven't set them up. I've done all my flight planning previous to the video, so I'll go through the setup of these. I'm using my Qantas Virtual flight planning for part of it, and PFPX flight planning as well for other parts. So I'll just go through the fuel load. So I'll click on here. Currently the fuel tanks are full, but we're going to be changing that around according to our flight plan. So just have to move this screen over here to swap screens. So here's the details of our fuel planning and our load planning. Okay, so the figures that I need to worry about first off for fuel is this here. So here's our fuel, 9.602 pounds of fuel. Our zero fuel weight is another important one that we'll need, and our reserve fuel here. So with all those figures, I can start inputting everything that I need for our flight. sorry about that, I'm just messing around with changing screens. So with our fuel we had 9,602 pounds. So 9,602 pounds, going to put that into here. We're going to then go into our payload, and we're going to enter the 0 fuel weight, which was 115.2. I'm just going to enter that into here. And the other figure that I needed was the reserve fuel, which I will input shortly. So we're going to go into the flight planning on here. So we're going to set up our position by turning the IRS switches into nav beginning. It's now giving us our IRS position. So just to start off, I'm going to put in our reference airport, which is KLAX, and then I'm going to go to the next page, which has our GPS location. Click on here, bring up the latitude and longitude, and go back to our previous page and enter that into here. It's going to change a few things. We're not finished yet, so we're going to go onto our route. So we're flying from LAX to San Francisco. I've set up a company route, so we're going to put KLX and KSFO 01. Going to enter that into there, and our flight number is American Airlines 4655, like so. Our departure runway will be, just bear with me, I've just got to look it up, is 25 right. So 25 right, like so, and we're going to activate that and execute that. So we've given ourselves a
Hi, the security and safety checks are all done. Can we start boarding now?
so I'll just answer her. Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so our aircraft's ready for boarding, so I'm just going to close these doors, and it will get rid of the catering service, and bringing our GSX active ground service, we're going to request boarding. Okay, so back to the FMC. So we're going to
Back on the walk around, no issues.
double click on here, which will set our fuel weight. Our reserve fuel, which I mentioned earlier, was 2.1. So 2.1 is going to go into here. Our cost index, which is what I get from my Qantas virtual planning, which is a cost index of 39. And we'll be flying at flight level 360. Our transition altitude in the United States is flight level 180, and we're going to execute that. N1 limit, we're going to we'll do a takeoff to derated and leave that one. So our flap setting will be 5. I'm just going to double click on here and set our trim. So I've got my speeds here, which I'm not going to set in yet. I'm going to set up my departure. and that is available here. So departure from KLAX, sorry. We'll be taking runway 25 right, and it was the VTU5 departure. So look for that on here, and there it is, like so. Enter that, and we'll be taking the transition RZS. Click on that and execute that one. So there, our flight plan's been entered, our departure anyway, and our flight plan. Now we need to enter the arrival, which will be ILS 28 right, the BSR2 star, and we're just going to execute that like so. So it comes up with this this little bit of an error. I'm just going to double check it. So what I'm going to do is just go through that again and double check. So I'm going to use the transition Menlo and see if that I'm just going to have to mess around with this a little bit. Just going to execute that, go back into it. So ILS 28 right, BSR2 with Menlo transition, execute that, and it should get rid of the issue that we had. And no, it doesn't. Okay. So it's saying there's an issue there. I can easily fix that by putting in speed of 200, because the next one down is 188. So I'm just going to put in that speed there. We'll configure that in a second, like so. And now we get rid of that issue. Okay, now with that done, we can go back to our takeoff page and put these takeoff speeds in. Going to our descent page and to our forecast page, our transition level 180, and we're pretty much set to go. So I'm just going to put some change the autopilot and just make sure we have all the settings that we need. So our V2 speed is 138, so I'm just going to set that into here, like so. Our heading, just set it for 250, and our altitude will be flight level 360. Like so. Okay, so in 1 minute I'll run through the pre-flight checklist. Just to a moment. I'll just double check that everything's set. So I'll just quickly have a look at our flight plan from here, and just double check that everything is as I would like it. So we'll be taking off, then we've got vectors to the waypoint VTU. So I'll just basically fly runway heading and then make a right hand turn to VTU, and then we'll be taking the flight plan along the pink line here. Just zoom in a bit just to make sure I can see what it's doing. So basically be descending down here. It's so yeah, basically descending down here, and we'll intercept the ILS and follow it into runway 28 right. Okay, so we'll get ready to do that pre-flight checklist. Pre-flight checklist, please.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Navigation, transfer and display switches. Normal auto. Window heat on. Pressurization mode selector auto. Flight instruments.
Heading 252, altimeter 1015.
Checked. Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start levers.
Cut off.
Pre-flight checklist complete.
So I'll run through the departure briefing, which is here. Just make sure that I've got the takeoff thrust to derated, like so, and I'll play the brief.
Are you ready for the departure brief?
Go ahead.
Okay, it's going to be a standard pushback and start off the gate. Taxi route will be as assigned by ATC. It'll be a left seat takeoff using derated thrust. Landing of flaps 5 takeoff. Anti-ice will be off. In the event of a malfunction prior to V1, I will call either reject or continue. Standard low speed reject procedures below 80 knots. Between 80 knots and V1, I will only conduct a high speed reject in the case of an engine fire or failure, predictive wind shear warning, or if there is any other condition that makes the aircraft unable or unsafe to take into the air. I will simultaneously close the thrust levers, disconnect the auto throttle, apply maximum manual braking or verify the operation of the RTO auto brake, apply maximum reverse thrust, verify the extension of the speed brake, and bring the aircraft to a complete stop and set the park brake. We will then run the appropriate checklist or evaluate our options. If you could monitor my actions, make the standard rejected takeoff calls, including any abnormalities you observe before advising ATC. From V1, or if the call is to continue, I will continue the takeoff as per the standard company procedures. We will climb to the MSA and track clear of local terrain. We are under our maximum landing weight, so we're okay to make an immediate return. Okay, all going well, the departure routing will be via the ATC assigned SID, complying with all published speed and altitude restrictions. No noise abatement procedures required. Flight directors are on, mine is master, yours is slave. Navigation radios are set and the NOTAMs and aircraft defect log have been reviewed. Okay, any questions, comments or concerns?
No question.
Departure brief complete.
Okay, got the departure brief completed, so I'll just go through
Here's the load sheet.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got the passengers boarding now.
Watch out for your leg, please.
So we're just verifying our takeoff speeds.
Okay, verify takeoff speeds. Confirm you're happy.
Verified.
Check.
Okay, so it says we've got 6 minutes going on here. We're at 6:45, so 5 minutes. So we're pretty much on time. Just pop outside the aircraft for the baggage loading. Just make sure that's all been done. Looks good, and I can close the rear cargo door.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you all. My name is
I'll leave the
Jasmine,
front
and
one
I'm
open
supervisor
just
on
for
your
now,
flight
in
today.
case we get
We
any
would like
late
to extend a
baggage.
warm welcome to our frequent flyers and guests from other international partner airlines. So we can depart as soon as possible, please take your assigned seat, observe the no smoking and fasten seatbelt signs. Only right-hand baggage should be placed in the lockers above you. All other items must be placed under the seat in front of you. If you are sitting by an emergency exit, all of your hand baggage needs to be securely stowed in the overhead locker, and the crew will be happy to assist you. We are here to help, so please do not hesitate to ask any one of us for assistance.
Okay, so I'll get the before start checklist to the line done. So here we go. Before start checklist to the line, please.
Before start checklist to the line. Fuel 9.5 thousand pounds. Pumps on. Passenger signs on. Windows.
Locked on the left.
Locked on the right. MCP.
V2138, heading 250, altitude 36,000. V2138, heading 250, altitude 36,000. Altitude 36,000.
Checked. Takeoff speeds.
V1 128, VR 129, V2 138.
Checked. CDU pre-flight.
Completed.
Completed. Rudder and aileron trim.
Free and zero.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Completed.
Before start checklist completed to the line.
Okay, so as you can see, sometimes it doesn't like listening to me, and I have to repeat myself. That's okay. We're just about ready to depart, so I'm going to get the pushback over here. And again, it's another thing that sometimes is an issue, so I need to reset this, and I'll just leave it for now until we actually need to get going. I'm just going to close the closed, which they are. Fantastic.
Hi guys, all passengers are on board. Are we clear to close?
Yes, please. Thanks.
Thanks, let me know if you need it.
So I'm just going to close that door. I'm now going to get the push... wrong button. Going to get the push back here. So American Airlines is the service, and we're going to select this. And they should come over, like so. Alright, I'm going to do the next checklist.
Hello, Captain.
The 4-star checklist below the line, please.
Flight deck door closed and locked. Anti-collision light on. Before start checklist complete.
Locking gear. Departure check completed. Bypass bit inserted. Release parking brakes.
Start sequence will be 2, then 1.
Check.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start that wheel.
So here we go. Start engine 2. Start engine 2.
Starting 2.
Okay, so we're watching our N2. When this gets to around 20, I will introduce the fuel, like so. Just wait for him to get that engine started. We'll start the first engine.
Starter cutout.
Start engine 1.
Starting 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now commence the safety demonstration.
Set parking
Each
brakes.
aircraft may be different, so we'd appreciate your attention to the TV monitor closely.
So the same thing here, we'll just wait till that gets to 20 and then introduce the fuel. Like so. Okay, so we should have 2 good engine starts.
Unlocking gear. Tow truck disconnected. Bypass main removed.
Starter cutout.
Flaps 5. Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Okay, so we've got our pushback done. We just set our flaps for takeoff, and we'll just get ready now to start our taxi out. Controls check.
Ready.
Full left. Centre.
Check.
Full right. Centre.
Check.
Full up. Full down. Centre.
Check.
Full left. Centre.
Check.
Full right. Centre.
Check.
Dispatch clearance.
Confirmed.
Before taxi checklist, please.
Before taxi checklist, generators on, propane on, anti-ice off, isolation valve auto, engine start switches continuous, recall checked, auto brake, RTO, engine start levers,
Idle detent. Idle detent.
flight controls,
Checked.
dispatch clearance,
Clear. Clear.
checked. Before taxi checklist, complete.
Clear on the left.
Clear right,
Okay, so we've got our taxi checklist completed, so we're ready to start our taxi out to the runway 25 right. So just release the parking brake there, apply a small amount of throttle. Like so, we should get rolling here. Just follow the yellow taxi line and follow it around to the left. I'll begin the before takeoff checklist once the cabin is secure. That'll be shortly, they'll let me know. So currently with the scenery, I'm using just the default scenery because it's prepared 3D version 3. Not much has been released for it. I've got Orbex or FTX global scenery installed, as well as the FTX global vectors scenery, which basically adds a little bit more to the FTX global scenery, such as like lakes and roads, rivers and things like that, shorelines. So even with the default scenery, it shouldn't look too bad.
the cabin is secure.
Okay, so we're ready to do the before takeoff checklist. Before takeoff checklist.
Before takeoff checklist, flaps,
Flaps 5, green light.
stabilizer trim,
5.37 units. .68 units. .3 units.
before takeoff checklist complete.
Okay, so sometimes, like I said, it doesn't want to listen to me, and after a few goes, it eventually decides to do what it's meant to do. Okay, so we're just going to continue up along the taxiway here. The runway that we'll be taking off is just on the right there. So we want to keep our ground speed below 25. I usually try to keep it around 20, just here. But when you're making turns, you want to be below 10. Okay, so I'm going to go to the right here and follow, and then to the left and follow that up to the runway entry. And I just made that turn before I was out below 10. Okay, so here we are at the holding point, runway 25 right. So I'm just going to stop there. Before takeoff procedure.
Check. Ready to go.
So just turning the landing lights on and the takeoff thrust, and the strobe lights. So we're ready to enter the runway. Okay, we're ready to go. Set takeoff thrust.
Check. Thrust set. 80 knots.
Check.
V1.
V1.
Rotate.
V2.
And up we go.
Positive rate.
Gear up.
400 feet.
make my right hand turn. Flaps up.
Speed check, flaps up.
After takeoff checklist, please.
After takeoff checklist, engine bleeds, on, packs, auto, landing gear, up and off, flaps, up, no lights. After takeoff checklist, complete.
Okay, so we've taken off. We're now climbing up through 6,000 feet.
Are you happy to release the cabin crew?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
And we'll just continue climbing up to flight level 360 and tracking this flight plan. So our flight time should be just over an hour. The system's telling me roughly about 1 hour and 8 minutes. So we'll be arriving just after 8 o'clock. So once I get to our transition level, which is flight level 180 or 18,000 feet, I'll cut the video and I'll rejoin it just before our top of descent for the final part of the approach, descent and approach, landing and taxi into San Francisco. Cut the video here. It's going to be just a little bit longer before we get to flight level 180, so I'll cut the video here. Thanks for watching the first part of flight American Airlines 4655 from Los Angeles to San Francisco. I'll see you in the second part for our arrival.